أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Once there lived a king, and this particular king, he had a very close minister, a very close advisor, and this advisor and minister would travel with the king wherever he went, whether it be national travel or international travel. This advisor, this minister to this king, he would travel with him wherever, and he would advise him accordingly. Whenever bad things took place, whenever bad things happened, the minister would, calm the king down. He would say, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرًا, perhaps this will bring some goodness. Perhaps this will be of good to us. Whenever bad things happen, and the king would always calm down and listen to the advice and the nasiha and counsel of the minister. One day, the king's finger, unfortunately, were cut off. It was an accident, and his fingers, or one of his fingers, were cut off. And he became obviously upset and angry. And the minister said, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرًا, perhaps this will be a good thing for you. And the king said, how can this be a good thing for me? My finger is gone, how am I going to eat, and so on and so forth. He became very angry with the minister, with his advisor, and he ordered his police, his staff, to imprison the advisor and minister. So he was imprisoned for a number of years. Not 2 years, 3 years, but a number of years imprisoned. And the minister and advisor, he was a patient, and he observed his sentence quietly. Sometime later, the king went out to do hunting. And during that time, he went away from his army and his soldier and his policeman, and a group of people who would worship sanam, would worship idols. They were mushrikeen, they worshipped idols. They caught the king, and they wanted to give a sacrifice, qurbani, sacrifice to the sanam, to the idol. So they caught him and said, we're going to cook you, we're going to kill you and sacrifice you for our God, waliyadu billah, our idol. After a moment, they found out that this king, he had no fingers. He had no finger or fingers. So they let him go, because he was not worthy of being sacrificed. And the king said, Alhamdulillah, I'm saved. Now I understand the reason why my minister said, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرًا, when my fingers were cut off. Now I understand why he said, perhaps this would be a good thing for me. If my fingers were intact, then I would have become a sacrifice for these people. He went back to his town, and he said, he's overjoyed, jubilant. He came back and said, no, release my minister, release my advisor. And he released him, he came back, and the king apologized, said, I'm really, really sorry, this is what happened to me, and so on and so forth. And then the king said to him, okay, I understand my finger's been cut off, and because of that, I was saved from the idol worshippers. But when you went to prison, when I sent you to prison, you said, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرًا, perhaps this will be a good thing for me. How can it be a good thing for you when you go to prison? And the wazir, or the minister advisor, said, if I had not gone to prison, and if I had stayed with you during the time when you went to hunting and the idol worshippers caught you, then they would have realized that you have no fingers, they would let you go, and they would have caught me and put me as a sacrifice. And then the king realized that, Alhamdulillah, Allah does everything with a purpose. And this is a lesson for us. Everything that takes place in this universe, in this dunya, in this planet, there is a purpose, right? If bad things happen to us, if a calamity befalls us, a misfortune befalls us, there is a purpose behind it. Maybe because the Prophet Muhammad said, perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to elevate us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by this misfortune or the calamity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to elevate us, raise us in this dunya and the akhirah, or perhaps He wants to awaken us. Sometimes we're in ghafla, we're heedlessness, and due to some misfortune and calamity, we wake up. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to forgive our sins. So any calamity, Allah says in the Quran, right, perhaps you may dislike something, but it is better for you. And perhaps you may like something, but it is not good for you. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows while you do not know. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our needs and requirements. And sometimes, it's like medicine. When you fall ill, we have 1 or 2 doctors here. When you fall ill, you go to the doctors, and the doctor prescribes you some medicine, isn't it? And some medicine can be very bitter. You don't like to take the medicine, but you have to take it, isn't it? So sometimes Allah will give us misfortune and calamities. We have to be patient, because this is good for us, because Allah knows while we do not know. So we have to be patient in face of calamities, in face of difficulties, in face of misfortune. Whatever happens, good or bad, is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the believer, his characteristic, his shi'ar is, as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ra'ajaman li amril mu'min." You know, how great is the affair of the believer? How great is the affair of the believer? If a calamity befalls him, right, he is patient, فَكَانَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. He is patient and this is good for him. But if a good thing befalls him, he is also patient and thankful, فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُم. And this is good for him. So whether he's in difficulty or in prosperity, adversity or prosperity, he is thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is good for him. Not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or one other human being, but it is khayran lahu, it is good for him. So whatever happens to us, right, if someone swears at us, we be patient. We don't retaliate and swear at that person back. If someone backbites us, we don't retaliate. We become patient and we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him to rectify our situation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to practice what we preach. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to follow the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.